Or, as Daniel Ricciardo would say it, Hülkenberg. That was so not funny. The same order as it was in qualifying, but in any case, we have a race to get started on now. So we're just going to go to Connor's cam here, which looks like has got the best view of the grid so far. As the 3 lights come on, there's 4 lights, 5 lights. And it's go in America. And Millsy has already got a brilliant start behind him there. TD as well is also on fire in the Ferrari. It looks like he may be going into second position. Oh, a little bit of contact between SLR Connor and the McLaren of Millsy. So I wonder whether any of them may have damage. But that was not particularly the cleanest of getaways as the Haas 3 takes the lead. Now, with the Haas takes the lead away from Millsy, and Fairley has had a absolute shocker over first lap. He's down to 17th position, and John B already is up into P12. TD is up into 3rd, Platty up into 4th, and it looks like there was absolute carnage there. Absolute carnage there, and Sam Ken looks like illegal blocking, so I'm not quite sure what happened there with him. But it might have been the penalty that he was dished out for. That's what they were sorting out in the chat. So that's very interesting. As it's all, look at it all. It's about 3-4 cars. It's almost like watching the Formula 2 race in Abu Dhabi. As Hyper now, and the Hyper unfortunately spins there in the Aston Martin, and that will see him drop all the way down to the back. It's just, I really hope it just comes together for him at some point. It just has to. As we see SLR Connor now making the initial break from Millsy, as already FRA John B is in the points. Proving again once more that he is well and truly an alien of some sort. As let's see, as the top 5 now, they're seeing the closest battle between IIRacingLeague and potentially Mr. Wiggles. And 1010 has also had a moment in the other Alfa Romeo, as Wiggles leaves room for IIRacingLeague to come, but doesn't quite make it work. 1010 has got a 5-second penalty there for speeding in the pit lane, and already SLR Connor is building up what he needs to do. The Alfa Romeo has now retired. On Aki AMG, and it puts him up now into 9th. And look at him at the back. He's not far off at all from the leaders now. He's just defending, I think, from the Mercedes. But this is a dream start for the Alpine driver, who once again just waited for all of the carnage to unfold up there, as 1010 is obviously doing disqualified. And look at the Mercedes, he's come back past him, but is he going to make the move stick? I think John B has got the drive coming out of the corner. No, he's not. The Mercedes retakes the place. We don't want to go away from this particular battle, as the Alpine looks like he may have the switchback. SLR Connor is over a second ahead of Millsy with DRS now enabled, so he's out of DRS. But what happens here between the Mercedes and the Alpine? We're going to go aboard from the rear wing cam, and John B is just switchbacking whenever he can. Oh, what's happened there? What's happened to Aki AMG? Looks like he just gave up the positions. And just like that, the Alpine is through. I was a bit rusty coming back, and looks like Connor has had a moment. But is he playing something rather tactical just to get the DRS and re-overtake him? I'm not entirely sure. Doing what's called the Jarno Wotman tactic, and almost a nose barges into the back of the Haas. But that is not going to work in the Haas's favour at all, as Millsy has got DRS and will surely have the position on the Haas. And we look behind us, could be potentially 4 abreast into the long right-hander. SLR Connor may lose another position here to TD. And a little bit of argy-bargy between them, but it looks like the Ferrari goes down to the inside. Oh, and the Haas just holds around the outside. He's pushed him outside of the track, so he's got to get the place up. And now Mr. Wiggles is right on the back of the Haas as well. Does he have damage? Millsy is right now a second ahead so far of TD. Unless he doesn't say TD is not going to get the DRS, and the top 6 now are all bunched up. This is brilliant stuff, it has to be said. Let's go on board with Wiggles, who's got DRS, but Connor as well will have DRS. He's got overtake deployed. Connor covers to the inside. Squeezes him, but looks like Wiggles has gotten the move done. Yes, he has. As Connor now fighting off his teammate, Platty. Connor is dropping down the order somehow. So I don't know whether it really has got, it's a case of whether he has damage, but Mr. Wiggles is really taking a charge. What an incredible drive so far from the AlphaTauri, and what is very, very close Grand Prix racing. Barely has now passed Jake Sharrock, who is now coming under pressure from John B, who is now 2/10 behind. Run Amok looks to be falling away somewhat. DRS though on... No, TD doesn't have DRS. So SLR Connor's got DRS on TD. The Ferrari's going to lose out. Yes, he has. He's lost out and he is down to 4th. SLR Connor regains 3rd position. As TD now comes under victim from Platty, who looks around him every which way that he can. But the Ferrari holds off for now. The positions are changing all the time, it seems, at the front. Which is finally got a 3-second penalty there for, I presume, corner cutting. But from about 2nd down to 7th, it really is a close battle, and that really is allowing Millsy the time to get away. They're not going to see overtakes from a DRS train coming up there, but it could very well be the case coming into the 2nd DRS zone along the back straight within sector 2 that we will see some DRS overtakes happening, as Iros J is all over the back of Platty, and right behind him Padge is joining in on the action, with AMS Fairley joining in on the action, bringing John B, Jake Sharrock and Runner Muckaluck along with it. Now, is there going to be an overtake here? TD is quite far behind. It looks like things may stay the same, but we have Fairley looking to overtake Padge. Is he going to make that stick? Yes, he is, but Padge is going to switch back to the outside, and he's now got the Alpine of John B to contend with, who I imagine John B will be through definitely at some point before the first corner. He has got to get a move on, and with on medium tyres, he's in a very, very good position to wreak havoc on the rest of the field. Very, very close between the two, but that's allowing Millsy just that more and more time he needs to get away. But he goes wide, and that allows SLR Connor an opportunity maybe to go around the outside. No, he's got it covered. It's all bunching up now between the top two, and very close. You'll see behind AMS Fairley, John B is very, very close, just behind them there. So but the gap between, if I just bring up the times here, the gap between second and 8th is about 2 seconds. So that's really playing into John B's hands yet. Zyros J fights the Haas of Platty. Ah, that is a gorgeous camera, just showing how close everything is. Fairley now also up against it with John B. It's getting so close between these two cars who are looking for every bit of opportunity that they can. But all this infighting is allowing Millsy to get away. Platty right now onto the back of TD, as John B has got a time penalty of 3 seconds, so he's got to make up whatever. If he gets to the front, he's got to make up an additional 3 seconds to be able to win the race. And Platty looks like he's going ahead of the Ferrari, who's covering the inside line as the positions change between Connor and Wiggles. Yes, those positions have changed, with Millsy pulling up yes more than the top. And look at Fairley, just in a very opportunistic attempt to pass the Alfa Romeo, but he doesn't make it stick. Look how close it is between these top position cars from 2nd down to 8th. It is a brilliant show. As I think, yes, that was Platty coming into the pit lane there. No doubt everyone behind him will have DRS, but let's see what the Haas driver puts on. As unfortunately he's lost out. He has lost out to the Ferrari, or he's lost out to the Alfa Romeo rather. And John B, let's stick on board with this battle here. So we have Fairley on the left hand side, John B on the right. What's going to happen here between these two cars? John B is ahead, but he's got the inside line, And it looks like it's going to work out for the Alpine. And yes, it does. Truly astounding. That is, once again, lovely bit of opportunist driving there from John B. As TD, I think, is struggling on this set of tyres. I think they're all starting to come round into John B's hands. And Jake Sharrock looks to retire from the session. And the safety car has come out. Now is the time for everybody to pit in. And Millsy is going to lose out massively here. But no, actually no, he just manages to get into the pits. I beg your pardon. I think I beg my own pardon there. It's Greg a little bit far behind. It must be now that the Mercedes has gone that the McLaren's gone to drop it, and he has dropped it. Now that was not quite the best getaway, and Wiggles has not had the best restart himself. That could leave him exposed to the Haas, and APS Sog is coming to the pits for speeding in the pit lane. He must have some kind of damage, and Platty has passed Mr. Wiggles, and now up into third position on those softer compound tyres is Platty. Now what's going to happen behind with John B? He's got to get past himself. Fairley has lost out to TD in the restart. Padge, I think, as well may have lost out. And Greg is still 10th in his position there. And look at the two hit here. The Alpine just manages to, I think, to outdo the Alfa Romeo on those softer compound tyres. So Platty and John B are certainly the ones on the move. As is he going to make it around the inside? He just does it. So quite an optimistic one. It's going to be a drag race down to the top. So I think you might have him boxed, but unfortunately the Alpine, I think, does have that toe. It's going to be a straight drag race down to the second corner, but is the Alpine driver going to switch back? No, he's not. Goes around again to the outside. And that's a beautiful drive he's got on the line of there. He just almost just drives all the way through him. It goes round the outside and right on the back of Mr. Wiggles. And there we have John B has also retaken 5th position. And SLR Connor has had a moment. What has happened to SLR Connor? He has gone wide in the wide Istanbul corner, and unfortunately he is down to 16th at Haas. Is he going to try it down the inside? He's positioned his car. And he gets down to the inside as the Haas locks up. Is the Haas still going to fight him through that corner? No, he's not. And just like that, starting from 19th on the grid, John B is now in 2nd position, but those soft tyres will not get him through at all. Goes wide. I think he's going to have to give the position. Yes, he gives the position to Iros J. As let's see what the action is up at front. 4 tenths behind with DRS activated. This could be a crucial move for John B's strategy. What is Mills going to do? He covers the middle of the track, forcing John B to go the long way round. What's the Alpine going to do? He's going to stay with him. He's going to stick round to the outside. But gets yet another switchback. He's made this move work before on Platty. I think he'll make it move, certainly work again on Millsy. And he goes round to the outside. Oh, what a lovely piece of driving there from John B, who takes the lead. And that's a 3-second time penalty now for Wiggles for going off track too much. Millsy now will have DRS, so is he good? Could he potentially attempt to move here? Iros J has to back out somewhat, but he's got 4 tenths in front of him and a nice run down. With overtake activated, is the Alfa Romeo going to overtake the Haas? He goes to the inside and it should be a fairly done deal as behind Wiggles overtakes Fairley. As the Red Bull now overtakes Padge in the Aston Martin. This has certainly been a very interesting Grand Prix to commentate on, as Padge just misjudges his line there and gives Runamuck an opportunity to pass. There'll be some form of justice, I think, for Runamuck, who started last but hasn't quite made the inroads he would have wanted to. He started very well and unfortunately got damaged and had to change his front wing. As Platty now comes into the pit, so does he actually got 8th place down? That's where the closer gaps seem to be. TD is unfortunately disconnected, so unfortunately that's such a shame for him. who was driving a great race up in the top points paying position. Overtake from the Ferrari, and yes we do. Brakes quite early, locks up, but just about makes the move stick. And another time penalty for Padge. So let's go to the penalties now, see how everybody is doing. 9 seconds for Run Amok and Padge, 6 seconds for Wiggles, and 3 seconds for John B, Iros J, Fairley, Greg, Sam Ken, and Platty. And AKMG also has 3 seconds between Fairley and Iros J. Run Amok is now in 5th with Commence not behind him, not too far behind, in 6th position. Now, he hasn't got any penalties, mind, so he could be on for a potential podium if things go his way. Now, means that this will set him up very nicely, I think, for a potential overtake. Yes, and that was a bad exit from the Alfa Romeo. DRS will surely see AMS Fairley past the Alfa Romeo. I don't think he's got the red marks on his on the back of his car as he goes down to the inside. Is the Alfa Romeo going to defend? Yes, he is, and he still remains ahead. That's a lovely piece of defending there from Iros J, who stays ahead of the McLaren, leaving just enough room, but at the same time taking the space where he could. And I have to say, that was a brilliant piece of defensive driving there, as John B stays out for yet another lap. But are those softs really going to do it? This is close stuff. All he's got to do is stay ahead by 3 seconds and he's won this race. As Padge and Run Amok continue to do battle behind them there. Could John B be on for an absolute blinder? He's certainly going for it, and he's lost time though in this sector. He's now 4.4 seconds, so he's not going to win this race. He's not going to win this race with that kind of pace. So maybe 5 with a 3.7 seconds now, the gap between the two. So right now he's not doing enough to ensure that win. I think he's kind of outmatched here with Millsy. It's all or nothing now. He has got to make this work. And Platty now has a 3-second time penalty for cutting the corner. Let's remind ourselves of the penalties once again. So Millsy is driving penalty free at the moment, which is working very much in his favour. And so many penalties up front. I don't know how this order is going to finish. I don't have time to do all the calculations in my head, as Padge gets 12 seconds worth of penalties. I think whoever gets the most penalties in this should get what we call the Tiamat Marduk Award. As we'll see now, Fairley, oh, I just missed that. Sorry, everybody. Fairley now has gotten past Iros J and is now up into 3rd position. I didn't quite see the move there, so apologies, guys. But there, Millsy now is ebbing ever so more into his lead. It's now 2.6 seconds the gap. The gamble doesn't look like it's paying off for John B. 3 laps to go, and as things stand right now, he'll finish in 2nd, which is by no means a bad achievement. It's certainly been an incredible one at bat. But are those soft tyres actually going to make it? Is he going to get a puncture as Iros J repasses AMS Fairley? That's going to help John B secure 2nd. These two are going to spend all their time fighting each other. The gap now 2.3 seconds, 2.2 seconds now. It's certainly a mention for driver of the day, I have to say, from John B, who's doing an absolute blinder, it must be said, to make those tyres work as long as they have. 15 laps on softs, where there were, I think he came in, on lap 10 or 11, where he would have had some time, obviously behind the safety car, to help him. You can see behind, Millsy is still catching him, as Iros J and Fairley continue to do battle behind, as Padge loses out to Run Amok, with Sam Ken not too far behind him either. This race seems to be coming back alive now, as Lotus Renault has been overtaken by Platty, but Lotus Renault has no penalty, so that all of that could work in his favour, and the gap now is 1.2 seconds. I suppose it will be a win of some sort for John B if he can stay ahead of Millsy, and the fight for the lead looks like it's going to intensify, as John B doesn't look like he'll have an answer to the McLaren of Millsy, who everything is starting to come to him now. Let's see how they take this next corner. With the slower corners, you kind of need the tyres to work with you there. And I think John B kind of knows that Millsy is going to find some way past him. But let's see if he concedes position up until this corner. Goes a little bit outward to defend, but Millsy doesn't go for the move. And that's a lock up there for John B. It's not going to help him get those tyres through to the end. And Fairley and IIRacingLeague trade places yet again. That puts Fairley back up into third. It's a brilliant defensive drive so far from John B, who's 16 laps now on those softs. This really is very interesting stuff. And look at that. The McLaren almost drives around the outside of him. In fact, it does drive around the outside of him. Now, who was ahead at that DRS zone? Was it John B? Yes, it was John B, but I don't think he got enough traction to fully complete the move. With 7 seconds behind, I have to say it has been a majestic drive from him to ensure that those softs go through to the end. But I'm surprised right now that he hasn't got a puncture of some kind. As we'll go on board with the race leader, Millsy 502. And John B knows it himself. He's backed right off. So his tyres, as they say, have fallen off the cliff. But it depends. Could a second position be on for Fairley? I presume not, because I think John is far enough ahead to defend. But this man has put an absolutely sterling drive. The strategy and everything, he played it very, very well. Millsy 502. What's going to be a brilliant result, I think, for the McLaren. IIRacingLeague still fighting with AMS Fairley. And it hasn't worked out. It looks like the McLaren may hold off into third. So there we have Millsy comes round the long right-hander up towards the final corners now. And what has been a very well calculated drive to beat John B where it mattered most. He took the gamble, he didn't pay off, but it has paid off for this man Millsy, who wins the USA Grand Prix. What a stunning and brilliant drive, and full marks to John B for getting those softs through to the end. Fairley holds on after recovering from a bad start up into third position. IIRacingLeague finishes in fourth after a brilliant battle. Lotus Renault ends up finishing fifth. Prof Bill finishes fifth from all of those penalties applied. And with that, Lotus Renault is sixth, Sam Ken seventh, Platty eighth, Kements is ninth, and I believe it was Padge finishing in 10th place. What a lovely, lovely bit of racecraft there. With John B getting driver of the day, he's certainly a candidate for driver of the day from my perspective. But I don't really know who to give it to at the moment. So what a brilliant drive from Millsy to take the win. And John B recovers to second after starting from P19 and made those softs go a grand total of 18 laps all the way through to the end. So he'll certainly get some form of mention, as well as Fairley recovering from what was a pretty bad first lap for him, it has to be said. Lotus Renault obviously kept that penalty free, so congratulations to him. So there we have it, guys. We have a top 10 for us. I'll just run for that for you now. We have Millsy, who has won the race. Second place is John B. Third is AMS Fairley.